Daddy-us, please, help her. Those were the words. The 4 words that made every soldier's instinct in me, every instinct I had buried for 6 long, quiet years, wake up again. The rain was pouring down, a relentless, cold November rain that turned the neon sign of the diner into a blurry, bleeding watercolor. People were staring, pretending not to, but they were, their eyes darting, then quickly looking away, back to their phones, their coffees, their own safe little worlds. And there she was, a waitress, her uniform a pale blue, trembling under the grip of a man in a suit. A suit that cost more than my rent for an entire year. A man who thought his money, his power, made him a god. He didn't know I was watching. He didn't know that the quiet man in the corner, nursing cold coffee, was anything more than just another piece of the worn-out scenery. He didn't know I was a single father. He didn't know I was a veteran. What happened next? It changed all our lives, forever. If you believe that kindness and true courage still exist in this world, make sure to hit that like button right now and subscribe, because this story will touch your heart. The Crossroads Diner was half empty that night. It was our place, mine and my daughter's. Our little Saturday ritual. The rain tapped softly against the windows, like the sound of a lonely heartbeat. I sat in the corner booth, the one with the cracked vinyl that I knew by heart, nursing a cup of black coffee that had gone cold long ago. I didn't mind. I wasn't there for the coffee. I was there for her. My name's Mark Callahan, former Army. Honorable discharge, they call it. Single father, and these days, just a man trying to rebuild what life and loss tore apart. My little girl Maya sat across from me. She was 7. She was coloring quietly on a napkin with a red crayon, her tongue stuck out in concentration, a lopsided heart. She was the only light, the only anchor keeping me from drifting away since her mother, my Sarah, passed away 2 years ago. Every smile she gave me, every time her small hand slipped into mine, it was a reminder, a command. Keep going, keep fighting. I was lost in thought, watching the rain, when Maya's quiet voice pulled me back. She's pretty, Daddy. I looked where she was looking. Across the diner, a young waitress moved from table to table. Her name tag, pinned crookedly on her apron, read Elena. Her eyes were tired. You could see it, a deep, bone-weary exhaustion. But her smile was genuine. She was one of those people, the kind who smiled even when her heart was breaking. She reminded me of Sarah, that same quiet strength hidden behind gentle eyes, that same way of moving, as if trying to take up less space in the world, while giving so much. Maya dropped her red crayon. It rolled off the table and onto the floor. Before I could move, Elena was there. She scooped it up, her movements quick and quiet. You dropped this, sweetheart, she said, her voice soft. Thank you. Maya beamed, taking the crayon. I'm drawing a heart. Well, Elena whispered, leaning in, it's the most beautiful heart I've ever seen. Don't you stop. She smiled at me, a quick, professional smile, and went back to work. She served everyone with that same quiet grace. But when she approached one particular table, a table in the shadows near the back, her hands trembled, just ever so slightly. That's when I noticed him. He hadn't been there when we arrived. He must have slipped in while Maya was telling me about her school project. He was a man in a dark, tailored suit. An expensive watch glinted under the flickering fluorescent light. His presence didn't belong in this little roadside diner. He was a shark in a goldfish pond. In the booth behind him sat another man, larger in a dark coat, his eyes scanning the room, never resting. A bodyguard. The way the man in the suit looked at Elena wasn't kindness. It wasn't even anger. It was ownership. It was control. Sit down, Elena, he ordered. His voice was calm but heavy, loaded with authority. She froze, holding her tray of dirty dishes like a shield. Father, please, not here. I'm working. The word father caught my attention, but something about the way she said it, fear mixed with a desperate defiance, it made my stomach tighten. This was the kind of man I'd read about. The kind I'd seen barking orders from high-rise towers. Rich, powerful, believing everyone, even their own family, was just another piece on their chessboard. He leaned closer, his tone low but venomous. "You've embarrassed me enough. This foolishness is over. Come home. You're done pretending to be one of them." Elena's eyes filled with tears. For a second, she looked around the diner. A desperate, silent plea. Maybe hoping someone, anyone, would help. No one did. Not the cook, Sal, who suddenly found the grill fascinating, his back to the room. Not the young couple in the next booth, who were now pretending to be busy with their phones. No one wanted to get in the way of a rich man's anger. I understood. They had their own lives, their own families. But then, Maya tugged my sleeve. Her small voice broke the awful, tense silence. "Daddy, she needs help. That man is scaring her." Those 4 words. "Daddy, she needs help." They hit me harder than any bullet ever had. I looked at my daughter, her face full of innocent concern. Then I looked at Elena, who was now backing away as her father stood up. He was a tall man, towering over her. "You will regret defying me," he hissed. His hands shot out. He gripped her wrist. Hard. The tray clattered to the floor, dishes shattering, the sound like a gunshot in the small room. That was it. My own hands were shaking, not with fear, with something else. Something old. "This is not your fight, Mark. You have a daughter to protect. Look away." But Maya's eyes were on me. She wasn't just watching a stranger. She was watching her father. The soldier in me. The father in me. The man I'd kept locked away. Took over. I stood. My chair scraped loudly against the tile floor. Every eye in the diner turned toward me. The room was so quiet you could hear the rain, the buzz of the neon sign. I walked across the diner. I didn't run. I just walked. Each step measured, calm. My heart was steady. My training, the training I thought I'd forgotten. It all came back. Assess the threat. 1 primary, 1 secondary. Exits are clear. Civilian in the line of fire. De-escalate. "Sir," I said. My voice was steady. Not loud, but sharp. Sharp as steel. "I think the lady said she doesn't want to go." Her father turned, his eyes blazing. He glared at me like I was some pest, some insect he could swat away. "And who in the hell are you?" he demanded. I stepped closer, just enough to be in his space, but not enough to be a threat. Just present. "Just a dad," I said, "teaching his daughter what it means to stand up for someone who's scared." He laughed, a bitter, ugly sound. "A dad? You have no idea who you're talking to. I am Arthur Vance. I could buy this entire rundown block. I could end your pathetic little life with 1 phone call." "Maybe not," I replied, my voice still quiet. "But I know what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a man who forgot what it means to love his child." Elena's eyes widened. A small gasp escaped her. Surprise and pain. And something else. Hope. All mixing in her gaze. Her father's face turned a deep, dangerous red. Veins tightened at his temples. "This is none of your concern," he snapped. "She is my daughter. She comes with me." He tried to drag her out again. He yanked her arm, but I moved faster. I didn't touch him. I didn't touch her. I simply moved my body, placing myself between them. A simple, non-aggressive move, but a wall nonetheless. "Not tonight," I said quietly. "You can't buy respect, and you sure can't force love." For a moment, the air in the diner went still. It was him and me. The bodyguard in the booth behind him started to rise. His jacket shifted, and I saw the glint of an earpiece. I didn't flinch. My eyes stayed on the father. "You really want to do this?" I asked, just loud enough for him to hear. I nodded towards my booth. "In front of a child?" I glanced over. Maya was clutching her teddy bear, Captain Patches, with wide, scared eyes. But she wasn't crying. She was watching me. That made him hesitate. The bodyguard, he froze, his hand halfway inside his jacket, waiting for the order, looking weak in front of a child. It was a bad look, even for him. That hesitation was all Elena needed. She pulled her wrist free and, in one quick motion, stepped behind me. "Thank you," she whispered. Her voice was cracked, rough, like it hadn't been used for years. "You don't know what you've done." "I don't need to," I replied softly, never taking my eyes off her father. Arthur Vance looked at me, then at his daughter, hiding behind a stranger. His face was a mask of cold fury. He was a man who had never been told no. He was a man who had just lost. He slowly, deliberately straightened his jacket and his tie. "Just make sure it was worth it, Elena," he said, his voice dripping with ice. He looked at me. "And you will regret this." He turned and walked out. The bodyguard gave me one last, hard look before following. The rain outside seemed to swallow them whole, as if they were never there. The bell above the diner door jingled softly. And then, it was just silence. The sound of breathing, the sound of the rain. The cook, Sal, finally let out a long, shaky breath. "Geez," he muttered, turning back to the grill. "You okay, Elena?" Elena didn't answer. She stood there behind me, shaking, just staring at the floor where the plates had shattered. I reached for my jacket, the old army field jacket I still wore, and gently placed it over her shoulders. "You're safe now," I said. "Sit down. Breathe." I guided her to the booth across from mine. She tried to speak, but the moment she sat, the dam broke. She covered her face with her hands and just broke into tears. Not loud, sobbing tears, just silent, painful, exhausted tears that had been held back for years. Then the most amazing thing happened. Maya climbed out of our booth. She walked over, her little teddy bear clutched in one hand. She stood by Elena's side for a moment, then very gently hugged her tiny arms around Elena's leg. "It's okay, miss," she said in her innocent 7-year-old voice. "My daddy saves people. He's a good guy." Elena's sobs hitched. She lowered her hands and looked at Maya, a true, watery smile breaking through her tears. She reached out and touched Maya's hair. "He really did," she whispered. "He really did." We sat together for a long time. Sal brought over 3 cups of hot chocolate on the house. We just sat, letting the quiet fill the space. She told me, not all at once, in broken pieces. She told me how her father, Arthur Vance, controlled everything. Her job, her friends, her choices. How she was supposed to marry some man she despised, just to merge 2 companies. How she'd finally run away 6 months ago, with nothing but a fake name and a few $100s. She'd been working here, living in a tiny apartment, just to live, just to breathe. But somehow he'd found her. When the rain finally softened to a drizzle, I offered her a ride home. She hesitated. Her trust in people was shattered. "I live just above the bookstore," she said, her voice small. "It's not far." "I know," I said. "We'll walk you. My car's just outside." She looked at me, then at Maya, who was already putting her coat on. She nodded. As we stepped outside into the cold, clean air, Maya, without even thinking, reached up and took Elena's hand. Like they'd known each other forever. Something in my chest shifted that night. Something I hadn't felt since Sarah died. A sharp, painful, terrifying feeling. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was purpose. As I watched Elena glance back at the diner, her father's shadow still lingering in her eyes, I knew this wasn't over. The man wouldn't just give up. He would come back. And when he did, he'd find out that not every battle is won with money. Some are won with heart. If you believe no father should control his child's freedom, hit that like button. And subscribe for part 2, because what happens next will leave you speechless. The next few days were quiet, too quiet. It was the kind of quiet I remembered from my tours. The silence before, the fight, it made my skin crawl. I dropped Maya at school, and I found myself scanning the rooftops, checking every car that passed mine. An old black sedan was parked at the end of my street for 2 days. Was it him, or was I just being paranoid? I called Elena at the diner. She answered, her voice breathless. "Are you okay?" I asked. I think so. Someone called the landlord of my apartment, asked about me. Mark, I'm scared." "Me too," I said, and the admission felt heavy. Don't go home tonight. Stay with a friend. No. Stay at a hotel. A different one. Pay cash. I'll check on your place. I felt like I was back in the service. Running intel. Counter surveillance. I hated it. I had left this life behind. But it had found me. I drove to her apartment building. The black sedan was there, parked across the street. This wasn't paranoia. This was real. I didn't stop. I just drove past. I called the local police, reported a suspicious vehicle. It was all I could do. That night, as I tucked Maya into bed, she looked up at me with her mother's eyes. Is Aunt Elena okay, Daddy? She'd already started calling her Aunt Elena. She's okay, sweetie. She's strong. Is that man going to come back? The bad man? I stroked her hair. I won't let anyone hurt you, Maya. Or her. I promise. It was a promise I wasn't sure I could keep. 3 nights later, the headlights flared outside my small house, sweeping across Maya's bedroom wall like a prison searchlight. My heart stopped. I looked out the window, 2 black sedans. They parked, engines idling. Men in black suits stepped out. And behind them, him, Arthur Vance. He wasn't done. I went to Maya's room. She was already awake, clutching Captain Patches. Stay here, I whispered. Lock the door. Do not open it for anyone. But me. You understand? She nodded, her little face pale with fear. I walked to my front door. I took a deep breath. I was not a soldier anymore. I was a father, and this was my home. I opened the door before he could knock. I stood in the doorway, blocking it with my body. He sneered. The polite mask was gone. You think you can hide her from me, a soldier? He spat the word. I ran your background. Mark Callahan, nothing special. A failed hero playing house. She's not here, I said, my voice low. I know. She's at a motel by the airport. My men are picking her up as we speak. I'm here for you. To teach you a lesson about meddling in family affairs. A cold dread washed over me. What did you do? Just what I said. He smiled. But you're the one who's going to suffer. But then, a car door slammed. Not from his cars, from the street. Dad? My heart leapt into my throat. It was Elena. She was walking up the driveway, her face pale but resolute. Arthur Vance turned. His smile faded, replaced by pure confusion. What? How? My men said... They said I was a scared little girl, Elena said, her voice shaking, but clear. They were wrong. She had driven right past them. She had come here, to me. You think you can hide her from me? Soldier, he sneered. I stood tall, blocking the doorway. She's not your property. She's your daughter. Start acting like it. His anger burned, but Elena stepped forward, right past me. She stood on the porch, trembling, yet brave. Dad, I'm not coming back. Not to your house, not to your life. I just want to live my own life. For a moment, his mask cracked. For a split second, it wasn't a billionaire. It was just a father, pride and ego, giving way to a deep, terrible pain. I gave you everything, he whispered. You gave me things, Elena said, tears rolling down her cheeks. But you never gave me you. You never let me be me. The bedroom door behind me creaked open. Maya stood there in her pajamas, holding Elena's hand. She must have unlocked the door when she heard Elena's voice. Maya looked at the angry, powerful man, and in her small, clear voice she said, Good dads protect. They don't scare. That simple truth, that simple, undeniable truth from a 7-year-old. It silenced him. The men in suits looked uneasy, looking at their feet, at the street, anywhere but at this. Arthur Vance looked at his daughter. He looked at me. He looked at this little girl holding his daughter's hand. He saw it. A new family, one he had no control over. Finally, he sighed. A heavy, broken sound. His shoulders, always so straight, slumped. You've got her courage, he muttered, looking at Elena, but talking about my Sarah, or maybe his own late wife. I'd never know. I'll give you that. He muttered something to his men. He turned, got in his car, and without another word, their cars vanished into the night. Elena broke down. She didn't just cry. She collapsed. I caught her and just held her as she sobbed into my jacket. I pulled her close. "You're safe now," I said. "It's over." Weeks later, then months, the black sedans never came back. We learned through a small news clipping that Arthur Vance had taken an extended sabbatical from his company. Elena kept working at the diner, but she was different. She was free. She smiled. She laughed. Her eyes, once so tired, were bright. Maya called her Aunt Elena. They were inseparable, and me, for the first time in years. Our little house, our little family, it felt whole again. The empty chair at the table didn't feel so empty anymore. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe. Because love and courage and simple everyday kindness, they always, always win.